It's all good. So today we're talking about, we're continuing to move through this book, A Course in Miracles. And The Course in Miracles is a way to move from fear to love. And, and it brings us back to our home. So when we think about our home, it's so nice to be here today in this building amongst our brothers and sisters and our friends and our family members, and to think that this is our spiritual home. It's nice to have a spiritual home. It's nice to have a place where you can come to where you feel like you belong, that people are holding the space for you, cheering each other on when we're out rocking, New Zealand with Toto. Or, this past week I was in Los Angeles doing my show, and I got so many messages from people in this community that were like, you're gonna kick ass, There's only one kid in the room at this point. And he's got earbuds on. Yes, Mommy can use all her words. But it's really nice to have that, to have the place to celebrate. Oh, Stephen's birthday, Owen's birthday, we'll shovel the snow. Like, to recognize each other and to celebrate each other. And it's also nice when things don't go well. When somebody has a heartbreak and we're holding each other's hearts for them, and we're making space for the ebbs and flow of life. And this is what's called community, the willingness, the realness, the showing up for each other. In regards to the fourfold way, this is the time of year when they celebrate the warrior. And the warrior is about showing up to what has heart and meaning. And so when we show up in the midst of the winter, you're really demonstrating this has heart and meaning for me, this community, or where I'm getting spiritually fed, or whatever it is that brings you to this space. It has heart and meaning for you. So it's nice to know that you are activating a warrior within you that trudges out into the snow, and most people are like, no, thank you. I remember when we first came here from Los Angeles, there was a parade going on. It was a pet parade. It was like the 50-year pet parade, and it was pouring rain. And so I got my kids inside this little cafe, and they all had hot cocos, and we were staring out at this freaking parade that was going by in the midst of this rainstorm, and I looked at them and like, man, we gotta shake the LA thing, because these Chicago people are getting real about the parade. Like, they don't let a little rain get involved. Like, they're warriors, You guys are warriors, so it's just a beautiful thing to recognize. There's a sense of belonging, and in that sense of belonging comes this feeling of trust. Like, I can trust you because you know my stories, all my stories. I can trust you because I know your stories, all of your stories. And then when we have that, we have what we call a holy relationship. Holy relationships allow all things to be as they are without condemnations, conditions, crucifixions, constructions, criticisms, contempt, or any other C word that you want to toss in there. Holy relationships allow. There's an allowing in it. When we know each other, we know each other's hearts and our dreams, and we know each other's stories. And it reminds me of a story that Chris Thompson shared with me this week, or maybe it was like last week, but he sent me this story about this book that he was reading from called How to Be Spiritual Without Being Religious. And it was a book, and I was thinking, like, anybody in SpeakEasy could have written that book. And in 2 words, just love, right? Like, do you need a whole book to figure out how to be spiritual without being religious, But then I think A Course in Miracles is sort of like that, too. That it teaches us how to be spiritual without getting bogged down in our separate religions. And that's why when we come together, it's the love experience that we're looking for, and that it's not another religion that we want to kind of create, because sometimes these separate paths take us apart rather than bring us together. So this book was about how to be spiritual without being religious, and the idea was just to love, and that would be the cliff notes, just love. But we as human beings, we get kind of suspicious around things being easy. So we like to complicate things and toss in a whole bunch of like 5 billion other words to get us to the concept of just love, So anyway, there's a story in the book about this anthropologist who takes this television to this indigenous tribe, and he shows them the TV, and he shows them how to work the recorder, and he shows them how to work the remote control, and he shows them all of the channels, and he shows them all of the programming that they have access to. And he says that they watch this TV for like 2 hours, and then they start to get disinterested in it, and they start to slowly slip away and go back to their own storytellers. And he finds one of the villagers, and he says, like, I don't know if you really appreciate this TV. Like, it has thousands and thousands of stories in it. And the village person looks at him without skipping a beat and says, yes, I understand that, but our storytellers know me. And so this program is designed just for me, specifically just for me. And that's why when we go to live art, like when you're surrounded by all those people who show up as warriors to a concert, and they're not flipping it in their radio, which is great, but when they show up, there's that exchange. There's that beautiful exchange that's an ancient exchange of, I'm standing for you, I'm showing up for you, and I'm showing up for me. There's something nothing can replace that. And that's why when we go to live art, when we go to live concerts, when we go to live talks, it's like we get closer to this idea of holiness. So to be known is no small thing. We're craving, and all of us are craving to be known, to belong. To be known and to belong are wonderful things. But they're also terrible things to be known and to belong, because relationships are the masterclass of spirituality, right? I mean, they're our masterclass. You can read all the books that you want, you can meditate until the cows come home, but if you really want to fast forward your spirituality, get into a relationship, you know? Like, you get into a relationship and you will find, you know, all of those things, all of those blocks in your channel that we were talking about last week. So all of my best learning has come from not from books. Books can give us theory, but relationships help us to apply that theory. So in this section of Course in Miracles that we're going through today, and we're moving through A Course in Miracles because I think it's really an easy and accessible program that can support deeper conversation. So if you don't have a book, we have some to sell through SpeakEasy. SpeakEasy has purchased about 15 books. And if you do have a book, bring it with you next time. I don't know how close or how far we're going to stick to the text, but I just want you to know that's the source. So this section is talking about escape from fear, escape from darkness. It says escape from darkness involves 2 steps. So escape from darkness, when we think about darkness, we're talking about shame, we're talking about fear, we're talking about blame, we're talking about anything that makes us feel separate or heavy. And it says the first step is to recognize that darkness can't hide. And what does that mean? That means as soon as we turn on the light, as soon as we turn on the light of truth, you know, darkness, the illusion of darkness has no hope. And it has no power and it has no source. So all of those things that fall under the umbrella of darkness, shame and fear and separation, they have no source, they have no power. You know, it's like the Wizard of Oz, the fairy is looking at Dorothy and saying, click your heels, like that has no power, like you have all the power within you. And then the second step is to recognize that even if there was something that you thought to hide, that there's no need to hide it. That your life, with all its warts and riddles, is magnificent. Like, is perfect, and we wouldn't want to hide it even if we could. There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to fear. There's only the idea of transparency, of vulnerability. In that lives our strength. In that lives our capability. So it says in the Course, when you become willing to hide nothing, you enter into true communion, and you will understand peace and joy. So to break that down, it means like if you come completely raw, open, and available to each moment, meaning you're present in this moment, you have a chance at seeing the brilliance of God laying across the landscape of your life as your brother, your sister, your relationships, and you can have the experience of witnessing audaciousness because you've come from that place that doesn't carry, you know, separation or fear or unforgiveness. You come from that holy space. And when you come from that holy space, you have the holy perspective of seeing all things as blessed and beautiful. And that is why when we get there, we experience great joy and great peace. Judy Murphy's in the house!
Appreciate that.
You're welcome. I was just recognizing your perfection.
Yes, I'm sorry.
But when you deny your awesomeness, aka your holiness, you can never, you come from this, you start to see things broken. Now the crazy thing is, even if you deny your holiness, your audaciousness, you never, ever, ever, ever change it. That is something that has been authored by God. And no matter how much you want to deny it or fall asleep to it, it's still the truth and the whole truth. When we try and deny our holiness, it makes it very easy for us to deny our brother's holiness. And then we get into this broken perspective where we're just tossing, you know, illusions at each other. And why is that? All of that blocks to intimacy, into me I see. All of those blocks to intimacy come from a place of fear. Fear of transparency, what will they think of me? Fear of vulnerability, fear of audaciousness. Maureen Williamson, who is one of the major teachers of A Course in Miracles, gave us this poem that became very well known. And it says that our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Do you know that you're powerful beyond measure? Have you stepped into those shoes anytime lately and decided, right here, I'm powerful beyond measure? And if I were to really accept that truth, all of my fears, concerns, worries, conflictions would fall away. I mean, it would really feel like a hot knife through butter, which is what you're designed to be. So it's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Who are we to be brilliant and gorgeous and talented and fabulous? Who are we not to be? You're a child of God, meaning you're an extension of God. Kara was asking this morning, like, what do you mean? What's going on? She said, what do you mean they're God or I'm God? And I, you know, so to break it down, it's not that you are all of God, but you are nothing but God. And so it's like the drop of the ocean is nothing but the ocean within it. It's not all of the ocean, but it's a drop of the ocean. The same is true for you. You know, so you are an extension of His brilliance. You have heir to all that's good, beautiful, and holy. The only thing that's different about you and a Christ consciousness is that you still believe that you're something else. You still believe that there's something to fear, that there's some way to hold yourself off from being this audacious nature. And I believe it too as well. We vacillate in our holiness. We vacillate in our wholeness. And we can take our spiritual temperature by simply saying, like, am I in peace and happiness and joy? Am I looking around my life and saying, is this real? Like, is this heaven on earth? Like, pinch me, someone. You know, if we're not experiencing that, and it doesn't require that we run off to New Zealand and play some, you know, hit records with Toto. You know, we can have that audaciousness right now. You know, that could end. But if we do have that experience and we feel that, we can say, wait, I'm going to bring this with me wherever I go. This is not an outside job in, this is an inside job out. And this came to me by right of my consciousness. So this and greater things shall I do. You know, so this is just the beginning of my experiencing that limitless state of grace. We think, like, who am I to be that brilliant? Who am I to experience that unfeathered, untethered, unedited state of grace? But who are you not to be? So, I mean, I could go in deeper with that about the ways that we block that from happening, but maybe we'll talk about that in the conversation. Some of us, myself included, I recently had this experience in Los Angeles where I went out and I had this great time eating great food with great people doing what I love. And this conversation turned to this place where I felt like I had done something a little bit wrong. And I remember sitting in that feeling like I'm in the midst of heaven and I still have this fly in my soup. Now that fly in my soup wasn't something that came from the outside in, it came from a consciousness that was saying, it can't be that good. You know, it can't be that good. So I had to look at that, and I had to say, okay, I am going to look at this and be at peace with this and not use this to poke myself in the eye. And I'm just going to be at peace with it without making it mean anything. You know? So it was an interesting application of the lesson. This is a possibility for you as well, because I'm committed in having an orgasmic life. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want that? You know, we are here as extensions of God's love that are joyful creators expressing love. That should feel orgasmic. And it shouldn't be segregated to what happens in the bedroom. It should be the experience that we live 365 days a week. A week? There's a lot of days in 1 week. That's why I didn't do well in math. So I had that experience, but what I know is that I called that experience and I can decide to forgive that experience. And as we forgive those little experiences and those little hiccups, we begin to see our phone book changing. We can begin to see the outside reflecting more of that holiness within ourselves. And that's a trippy idea. But if you were on course with that truth, you would experience a greater degree of flow. And we all have had that experience in some way or in our life. So the poem that Maureen Williamson gave us goes on to say, we are all meant to shine as children do. We're born to make manifest the glory of God that lives within us. And that it's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we liberate from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. So this is good for us to know, because the ego sometimes says, if you're that big and that bold and that brilliant, you might make somebody else feel uncomfortable. You know, so we get to look at that as well and say, no, this actually gives other people hope. My brilliance gives other people hope so that they too can demonstrate the audacious nature that lives within them. We went pretty deep with this lesson this morning, actually, on 184. I call upon the name of God and as my own. If you knew who you were, if you knew that truth about you, if you knew whose you were, who walked with you, all of those obstacles, all of the obstacles in your life would become a punchline to the most hysterical joke you've ever heard. You'd be like, oh my God, seriously? Like, when that rolled up on the table, I would have been like, that's so funny. Instead of saying, oh, I'm a bad person, I would have said, look at that, there that is again. And I would dismiss it with a gentle hand, not today, my friend. You know, and that's what it would look like. So imagine that. This is also what it looks like, and this is why sometimes we get hung up. Imagine that you're in the room that you created with all of your things, your bits, your bobbles, your relationships, your people, and you're in this room and you love this room and you love everything in this room. But then, despite all of your efforts, the room starts to shift and change, and the things start to move around the room, and people show up in their own script, and pictures get crooked, and the page on your that you're surfing isn't loading fast enough, and you go, this is not my script. What are you people doing? And then you try and control it. And you run around the room and you try and fix and adjust all the crooked pictures. And you start to try and make the well-worn rug look not so worn. And you try and get the screen to move faster, or you scream at it. And I won't even tell you what we sometimes do to the people in our lives, and how we treat them when they're not showing up to our liking. And we don't do it to their faces all the time. We do it behind their back so they don't know, because that's really helpful. So, this is what we do. This is called control. This is where we block. We circle the room and we fix the crooked pictures and we mend the well-worn rug and we yell at the screen and we justify our blocks that we've projected on our relationships. And if we see it that way, we will see everything as against us. And we will be running a circle in the room, constantly trying to control and fix and control and fix and control and fix. But if we see as everything for us, we'll begin to be extensions, and we'll lean in curiously and we'll say, oh, I am that. I am that. I take responsibility for that. I am the crooked picture. And we go, oh, I am the crooked picture. And we gain compassion. And I am the well-worn rug. I am that. And then we gain compassion. I am the slow-moving screen. I am that. And then we gain compassion. We say, oh, I am, those crazy relations in my life. I am that. And once we get to I am that, then we can get to God is. Until we recognize that we are one with everything, we're going to hold off God is. God is the last step we take through our Holy Communion. When we look around the world and we say, God is. When we look and we have that experience that Kathy had, and we say, God is. Well, we can have that all the time, but it's an inside job.
What's that?
So this course can be summed up in the idea that nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists, but real is what happens right now as we come to these holy conclusions about our experience. And we don't say this is wrong, but we say this is right. This is right here, this is right now, and I'm going to be with this without condemning or crucifixion or trying to control it. In fact, it's the only thing that is real is this moment. The realness of this present moment belongs to us. The past, the future are domains of the ego. We have no business there. Of course, Miracles tells us that nothing real can be threatened. And what is real is now, and what is real is love. So just love. Just love, just love, just love, just love, just love. Like if we took that mantra to ourselves and really embodied that, we would begin to really let go of some of our sideways thinking in scattered ways. So, do we choose this? Or do we choose like Adam and Eve, when God is like, everything is for you, and they're like, we'll take the tree of knowledge. The tree of knowledge of good or bad. Before that, everything was just good. God said everything is good, and they're like, we want to know about the bad stuff too. So we can judge as you judge. And God's like, but I don't judge, I only judge good. And they're like, well, we still want it because we don't trust you. And it's funny that we do that, So to trust God, to trust that God loves us impeccably, would really mean to dismantle some of the, programming that we have received about God is out to get us, or God is somewhere not accessible to us. But God is us. God dwells within us. And we scratch our heads and we wonder why did Adam and Eve choose the other? And yet we are daughters and sons of Adam and Eve who continue to choose the other. And God is saying this is good, and we're like, no, God, it's not good. That person didn't show up the way I want, the TV is this and that is that, and it's not good. And God continues to whisper, it's good. It's good, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good. And until we sing in harmony with that song, we're going to find ourselves in hell. I mean, that's a simple mathematics. So God said, beloved, this is the day that I've made for you to rejoice and be glad. Your good is at hand. I'm not asking you to jump through hoops or have a special handshake or do anything. I'm telling you, it's right here and right now. And instead of gratitude and thanksgiving, we whisper back directions and redirections and suggestions. A little more song, please, you know, nothing's right. And still, God rolls out the red carpet for us. And we're absent, we're not present, because we're in the past or we're in the future, dabbling in places that we have no business. So getting real requires that we let all else be as it will be. You know, this is not easy to master and even harder to practice. The mind of the ego will assume that there is a sacrifice involved with its letting all things be, giving up of something of value. The only thing that's being surrendered is the mad ramble of the ego that takes from us this moment. So how do we come clear and unencumbered to this moment? The willingness to forgive all things, to love all things, the fearlessness to be intimate and transparent with this moment. The moment is the home of love. This moment is the home of love. This moment is the home of love. And this moment is the home of love.
This moment is the home of love.
Thanks, Al. Isn't that beautiful? Yes. This moment is the home of love. And still we don't show up to it. We forget to come home. And we run around the block with our hair on fire, screaming and yelling and trick-or-treating in places that has no tricks and has no treats. We want to go home to God, where all is well, where everything is given to us. So as you give over to this moment, you'll be surrounded by love. Most times we want to wall ourselves off, put on masks, protect ourselves in the present moment, and we fear what others will think of us if we fall that madly in love with the world. We fear what others will think of us. You know, that's a big fear. But, you know, what will they think, and what will they think, and what will they think if I fall so madly in love with this moment? But who the F are they? You know what I'm saying? Like, who are they? Who are these people that you're giving authorship to? It's not God. It's a choir of madmen. It's a choir of fear that you have established as your boss. But no one's the boss of you. Not even God. God gives us gentle suggestions and waits patiently for us to get on course with her. So most of the time, no one is thinking of you. Nobody is really thinking about you that much, you know what I mean? Everybody else is thinking, what are they thinking of me? So we're all thinking these blank screen thoughts of what are they thinking of me? Nobody's thinking that much. So what the ego does not want you to know is that if you come clean to this moment, you will lose nothing and gain everything. And you are capable of doing that, of losing nothing and gaining everything. That's what's real, according to God, is good. This is good. God has established and said, this is good. I created this, I call it good. This is for you. It's not against you, it's for you. And nothing is against you. So in the end, just be, just love. Just be, just love. Just be, just love. Just be, just love. It's so simple. I know we're going to want to complicate it as soon as we leave the doors. But if you can remember that, just be, just love. And report back next week on how that works for you. And that's the word. Yes. So what do you think? I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below, or you can go ahead and sign up for our newsletter at SpeakEasySpiritualCommunity.com so we can keep the conversation going. Because Speakeasy is all about engaging in engaging conversations. I'm Maureen Muldoon, your spiritual vixen, reminding you to love more and fear less, and don't forget to laugh. What do you say?